Hello, my name is Doug Leisure, and I wanted to record this video specifically for the people that are wanting to install my donation software on a Macintosh. So hopefully you are aware that Microsoft and Apple are basically at odds with each other because they're competitors to each other. So my donation software does require Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft Excel does work on a Macintosh, but Microsoft doesn't really support, unfortunately, doesn't support Excel on a Mac because of the competition, as well as you would hope that they would. But they do support it. So on a Macintosh, you will need Excel 2011 or later. And if you intend to use the part of the software that can automatically send your year-end donor receipts through email, then you'll need to set up your Apple Mail correctly for that to work. So, okay. Now I am connected to my Macintosh, basically though through kind of like a remote connection. I'm only saying that because I'm not actually recording this directly on the Mac, but we'll still be able to go through the steps, and you'll be able to see what needs to be done to get my donation software working on the Mac for you. Okay, so as is very typical, if you've seen my demonstration of my donation software, then I ask you if you want a copy to send me an email message, and I will respond to that email message with my own email message with the donation software, the Excel file attached to it. Also in that email message, there's a link for you to download a copy of the user guide, my documentation. You don't need to edit it, you just simply need to download it. And when you do, let me just drag that over here. When you do, it's a Microsoft Word document, and in there I have an entire section on installing my software on a Macintosh. If you installed Excel only and therefore don't have Microsoft Word, you might be able to open it up in the Apple's word processor. If you have any problems, just email me. I can convert this to a PDF and send it back to you. Not a big deal. But yeah, so there's an entire section there, and a lot of different videos that I've created. Not only this one to help you with the installation, but others to just simply help you with the usage of the software and customizing it for use in your church or religious organization. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to ask you to do when you're first getting ready to do the installation is to go ahead and create a separate folder on your Mac, and then download out of your email system, download my Excel file into that folder. So let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so this is just simply my email. Let's go to the Finder, and in the Finder I'll go to my Macintosh. So this is my local drive, and you could put it on the desktop, you could put it on the documents, you could create your own spot for it. Let's go ahead and go to the Documents folder, and we'll just put it in there. Okay, so there's one there called Donation Software from my playing around earlier, but let's create a brand new folder here. And the sample church we'll be doing is the First Baptist Church. So let's just go ahead and make the folder First Baptist Church, or First Baptist Donations. Okay, so that'll be the folder. So so now we have a folder to put the Excel file. And I would suggest you also, when you download the user guide, go ahead and drop it in here as well. Okay, let's go back to the email message for just a moment. And I am using Gmail. So in Gmail, the attachments are way at the bottom. So depending on your email system, they might be up above, but you'll just have to go find the attachments. Gmail is kind of weird in the sense that these are just simply links to videos that I created that you might be interested in looking at, and those links show up as if they're attachments as well. But what we want to do is find the one that is the Excel file. So it's my 2025 version, Excel donations and expenses. As you saw hopefully in my demo, that the software was designed initially for tracking donations at a church, but have expanded the functionality over the past more than 10 years that I've been working on this and sharing it with churches and nonprofits and other religious organizations over those many years. So it's my 2025 version. It also tracks expenses and allows you to calculate the balances of various bank account or credit card accounts. So it's a fairly robust software for small churches, medium-sized churches, small nonprofits, and other religious organizations. But what we want to do is we don't want to double click on it, which in Gmail would actually open it up and convert it into Google Sheets. We do not want to do that. We want to extract it or download it out of the email. So in my system, it's using this icon right here to download it. And depending on how your email is set up, it might give you the option to tell it where to put it, or like in this case, it's going to decide on its own where to put it. We're just going to go find it and move it to the right spot. So let's use the option, again, in my particular email system, I have the option to open up the folder where it downloaded it, and from there we can move it over to the right spot. So let's do that. Okay, so it put it in the downloads folder, and we want to go over to the documents and then the folder I created for it. So this is the file that we downloaded. So let's go ahead and copy it. Go back to the documents, to the First Baptist donations, and it's in here that I want to paste the Excel file. Okay, we have a great start to what we're wanting to do. So we've extracted the email. We have the file locally, and now we're ready to start working with it. Now, typically, I would say you probably want to go ahead and take a moment at this point and rename it. We might as well get the correct name for this. So let's go ahead and do that here. We'll do the rename, and let's make it First Baptist Church or First Baptist Donations and Expenses. Okay, so we have renamed it, and now we're ready to open it for the first time. Okay. So while this is opening up, and I don't know if you can see down here at the bottom, the Excel is bouncing as it's getting ready to open it up. This is something I have noticed in the Excel world. On the Macintosh, the Excel on the Macintosh runs in what's called a sandbox. This is just simply Apple encapsulating Microsoft Excel, keeping it in a place where it can do no damage to the Apple system. So they call that the sandbox. Doesn't stop the software from working. Just seems like it takes a little bit extra time for it to launch and be available for us. Well, when you open it, then it recognizes that there are what's called VBA macros. The macro language is what I use to do a lot of the background work that you need me to do when you're using the software, so that you don't have to do a lot of extra work. My software has these macros built into it to do the work for you. Now, in the PC world, you enable the macros once, and you don't have to do this. You don't have to click this. You don't see this dialog box and have to click enable macros each time. But in the Macintosh world, this is where I say, unfortunately, Microsoft has not, in my mind, played very well with the Mac, and probably on purpose. But in the Mac world, we do have to enable the macros every time we want to use the donation software. So we just click on enable macros, and then the software will continue to load. Let's just talk about something real quick, and I actually do have this in my user guide. So if you don't see this enable, the disable macro, enable macros, if this doesn't happen, it's possible that your one of the options within Excel has that functionality turned off. So you would just simply want to go open up just generic Excel and go to the preferences, security, and make sure you put the little dot on disable all macros with notification. So this is the part that to protect you, it does not automatically launch the macros, but instead it lets you know, hey, there are macros in here. So that's the notification part. There are macros in here, and if you trust it, you can choose to enable them. So this is the correct option that will give you that dialog box. If you do the one that enables all macros, you won't see the dialog box, but that can potentially be dangerous. So I think the better option is one that you should get by default, but if not, turn it on, and that'll give you the little dialog box. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, when you check for updates. No, we're not going to check for updates right now. Thank you, Microsoft. Oh, sorry, probably because I have the dialog box here. I can't interact with that one. Sorry. Okay, so this is my software recognizing that this is the first time that you've opened up the donation software, and you're going to start to work with it. And so there are a couple of things I need you to do when you first open the donation software to get it set up and working correctly then for your church, your nonprofit, your religious organization. And that is to define your donors, a list of your donors. Now you'll add to them over time, but let's get an initial list of your donors in there. And then let's go to and that'll be on the donors tab. And then we'll go to the parameters tab. Parameters, this is just the way that you can choose different options to customize it and adjust it to work the way that you want to and need to for your organization. So that's what this is saying. And then once you make all of those changes to the donors and the parameters, then we want you to run a menu item called adjust tabs from the parameters. And all that means is it's going to read down through all of your different parameters that you set, go to each of these different tabs and make adjustments on each of them, hiding, unhiding, rows, columns, whatever it needs to do to match your parameters and how you set it up. So we're going to go ahead and click on the OK here. Now, this is the way the software works by default. Every time you open it, it presumes that you're planning to do enter all of the details about a particular donation that you received. That's kind of the functionality is to its main use to enter donation information. And so it's going to prompt you each time, hey, what is the date of your donation? Now for us, we are not doing a donation right now. We're just simply getting everything set up. So let's just hit the cancel button. All right, now let's see if it'll let me get rid of that. Yep. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so this is where we would take the next step to go through and set up our list of donors and parameters. Okay, let's just, before we do that, real quick, just a kind of a high level thing. Especially in the Macintosh world, I know that a lot of people like to keep their files in the iCloud. Now, another choice for the cloud environment might be, since you've installed Microsoft Office, you might possibly also be using Microsoft's OneDrive, another cloud environment. But I did want to just note that in my user guide, there is a portion of that that talks about using Excel in the iCloud environment and some extra steps that you have to do to get that to work. And while we're talking about some of the different things in the user guide, there's a portion that talks about some potential problems that if you run into them on your Mac. I have some steps here to fix certain problems that might pop up. Let's talk about one of those real quick. Okay, so within my donation software, I've created for you a menu. Donation software, that's my menu. It's just part and parcel of the standard Excel home, insert, draw, page layout, formulas, data, review and view menu items, part of Excel. I've added my own menu to this, and these are all the things that we do, all of the menu items that we use in interacting with the correct functioning of the donation software. And I mentioned in that little dialog box that first popped up to run the menu item called Adjust Tabs from Parameters, and that's this one right here. Okay, again, part of the donation software menu, all the things that I've created to help you to use the software correctly. Now, it is possible that that this menu doesn't appear for you. I've seen it only a couple times, but I've seen just a couple times where this menuing item doesn't work, doesn't get created, you can't find it. And so what I did is I provided an alternate way to get to the menu choices. And I will show you that here real quick. We're going to go to View Macros, because each of those menus are really calling behind the scenes, calling my macros that I've created. Okay, so but if we do this View Macros, what I'll show you then is each of the different menu items. Like I say, it just calls them a macro, and all of those macros are really available to us, including the one that will display. Sorry, where's the scroll bar? There we go. Come on. There it is. Display menu. Okay, so this will pop up a pop-up menu that'll still give you access to all of the same options that you need, but you can actually set this up so you can run it using like a keyboard command, option command X type of a thing, and I describe all that in the user guide. But it's just the idea that if for some reason this doesn't work for you, I gave you an alternate way to get the menu so you can still use the software. And just so you know what it's like, I'll just go ahead and run that, and you'll see what it does is it pops up a menu in this format. So it works. You just put in your option number 1, 2, 3, 4, 21, 22, 23. So you can do it by number. So it's a little clunky, but it does function. So, but I just wanted to say that that is one of the things that if you're having problems with the donation software menu not working, I still give you a way to use the software. And again, that's described in the user guide. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through the steps real quick of setting up our donor list and then our parameters. Okay, so the tabs across the bottom: entry, donors, annual, etc., etc. There's parameters. So we're going to go to the donors tab, and there are some samples in here just so you can kind of see what it would look like. But you just start numbering. Well, I'm sorry. First of all, if you're a church organization that uses perhaps the envelope system, you may already then have assigned envelope numbers to go with your different donors, and so you would use those numbers and names. Perhaps your church has a different piece of software that you're using where you have member numbers to go with your people. You're welcome to use that as well. If not, then just start creating a number scheme for your donor numbers, and then insert your donor names. We have an optional thing for the address, city, state, and then the email address, so that if you do want to try to have the donation software email your receipts at the end of the year, then you'd want to set up your email address. Okay, so I know I've had some people say, why do you need a donor number? Well, that's basically behind the scenes. It's the donor number that ties everything together, all of the donations for that person, not the name, because names can be widely varying between what we use and how you've recorded it. So like my name is Doug Leisure, so it could be Doug Leisure, it could be Leisure, comma Doug, it could be Doug and Jan Leisure, that's my wife. So there's a variety of, and it could be Douglas, and not just, instead of just a shortened version, Doug. So there's so many different ways to do it, but donor number 4. Okay, the number 4 does not ever, it's not like an uppercase, lowercase, abbreviated, full name, last name first, nothing. It's just 4 is always consistent. So that's why we use that. So that's why we use a donor number and why it is so important. All right, just real quick, we have we have a column, not an extra, but we have a column in here that says print the receipt, ? And what that means is just simply you get to, for your different donors, decide at the end of the year when it's time to do a year-end receipt, do I want to print a receipt for these people, for this particular donor? Yes would print it to your printer. No says don't bother printing a receipt for them. You do have an option to make a PDF file, which then you could grab and email through whatever means you wanted to, whatever email system, or you can choose email. But with the email, there are certain things, and I have that described again in the user guide. Certain things that you need to do to get the email set up correctly, especially on a Macintosh, where we're going to use the Apple Mail to do the sending. Now, let's just talk about that real quick. I did in my email, when I send it out to you, I do include a script file for the Mac. And so if you are planning to do, if you're planning to use the software to automatically email the receipts at the end of the year, then you need to follow through these steps here and make sure you get everything set up correctly, including, and we have that down here, including the Mac script file that I gave you in my email, putting it in a particular, very specific folder on your Mac. Okay, so it's very important that you follow these instructions to get that script file put in the right spot on the Macintosh. Okay, I mentioned the Excel runs in a sandbox, which means I don't have access to doing all of the Mac stuff for controlling the email system. But what I can do is I can call this script, who then it lives outside of the Excel environment, so it does have access to interact with your Apple Mail and send the receipts automatically. So it's just simply Microsoft talks to this script. The script lives in the outside of the sandbox and therefore can interact with Apple Mail. Okay. So again, check out the user guide if you are intending to do that. Okay, back to where we were. Let's minimize this. Back to our Excel. Okay, so you enter your donor numbers and names. Again, optional address. Oh, and just so you know, because a lot of people have asked about this, you can add additional columns here for other things that you might want to track related to your donors. So it is a pretty neat thing. A fairly common thing I see is like a telephone number for the donors, or sometimes relationship to know that this donor is the uncle of, or the grandparent of, or the child of another donor. So just different things that I've seen people do. The important thing about this column for the receipt, whether or not you want to print it or email it or make a PDF, is that it does so using a drop down. And unfortunately, in the Excel world, the drop down, as you add more and more donors, you'll see that the drop down doesn't exist here anymore on these lower levels. Excel doesn't automatically copy this from one row to the next to the next to the next. You'll have to do that manually, and it's pretty easy to do. You can take one of the ones that has that little drop down, and you could just simply copy it and come down here to your other donors and paste it. Okay, so just the normal paste would work. The other choice is, oh, sorry about that. Make this bigger again. The other choice is to use this the square dot down in the lower right hand corner, not the drop down arrow. There's a square dot right there, and when you move your mouse over top of it, see how it changes from this kind of a plus sign to that kind of a plus sign. Oh, if I get it right over the dot, it's more of a black plus sign. What that does is if I click and drag straight down, Excel is going to copy that cell and its contents down everywhere where I drag that square dot. Okay, and so that's just an easy way. It's a very common Excel thing, but it's an easy way then to copy this yes no kind of a thing for the receipts. Now I did blast over top of my donor 100, which is a loose offering, so there's no names ever associated with that because it was loose. So no, when it's time to do receipts, don't bother making a receipt for donor 100. Okay, and again, you'll just fill this in for all of your current donors. As you're moving through the year and recording donations, you'll pop over here multiple times to add additional donors. So that's what we do with the donors. Next part, let's go to the parameters. Okay, so the parameters, this is where you customize the software to work the way you need to. And I'm not going to cover all of the parameters. There's almost 100 of them because I've over the years just continually give you more options and flexibility to to change the software and adjust it to work the way you need to. So I'm up to almost 100 parameters now. We're not going to cover that here. I'll make another video where I go through the different parameters in a lot more detail. But here I just want to hit some of the very important highlights. One very important thing to understand about the parameters is that you don't do anything in the white cells. You only work in the yellow cells. Honestly, the entire thing, this entire parameters tab is totally protected, so you can't modify anything that's outside of the yellow cells, and that's on purpose. So now within the parameters there is a variety of things that you can just simply type in here. So like for instance the church name and address. Here you would just simply, what do we say? We are First Baptist Church, right? And we're 100 Main Street in Atlanta. I don't know what the zip code is there. I'm sure that's not correct, but anyhow, this is something where you just simply type whatever you need to in the yellow cells. Okay. Now there are other parameters, like for instance the option where you choose either yes or no. These are going to be given to you using the drop down. Okay, so when you click on the drop down, you can choose yes or no. All right. One of the important things that you'll want to set up when you're using this is the language. By default, it will be set to English. I do ship it with a Spanish translation. And so you have the option to use Spanish right out of the box. So the thing that's kind of important here is to understand that if you want to switch it from English to Spanish, or you actually have the option to do both English and Spanish. Okay, so they're both languages are displayed at the same time. But if you're going to choose a language other than English, then you want to set that up in your parameters initially. And there's a very specific reason, and that is once you set the language, then all of your options are going to now display in that language choice. And so that's why it's important that you set the language first. Okay, and so for instance, when you're setting you're choosing the months are displayed in Spanish. Okay, so it's important that you set the language first. All right, I mentioned that it will ship with Spanish already in here as an option, but I do have other languages available, and on the translation tab here we have the Spanish. I have other languages that you can just simply paste over top of column F to put in a different language. I have it available already, and I can share these with you if you need it. I have it in Portuguese, Burmese, Japanese, French, Chinese, Korean, and Hindi. So if you need one of those languages, just shoot me an email and I will share that language with you. Okay, as I mentioned, then we need to go down and set up the various parameters here. One of the important ones is just simply what year are we using when we're displaying ready to print our reports for the year. We have one that goes basically month by month by month. You'd want to do a monthly report. At the end of the year, we want to print our receipts, and this tells the software what year to put on that report, or what year of data to use when it's creating a receipt for your donors. Okay, and again, that's also a drop down. This next one, the year here and the the fiscal year, the next few items, those are related to those organizations. We don't see this too often in the church environment, but a lot of times the nonprofits will run their financial information on a fiscal year basis. So for instance, perhaps it starts in October, ends in the following September. Now the donations you would want to run, the donations you would not the donations, the receipts, you would want to run those on a calendar year in the US, even if your finances are displayed on a fiscal year. Okay, so we give the ability, when even if you're in a fiscal year environment, for you to define whether you want the receipts to be calendar or fiscal, whether you want the reports to be calendar or fiscal. So it's your choice. Again, lots of options. Okay, here's a very important thing. Within the software, like I say, by default, we'll want to track your donations, and therefore at the end of the year print your receipts for the donors. But we also have the option to track your expenses and the balances for your different bank, savings, credit card accounts, and produce an income versus expense type of report, and that's the expenses side of it. But not all churches do that. A lot of them are wanting to track the donations only. So I give the option to say whether or not you want to do the donations only, or you want to do both donations and expenses. But this is a pretty important thing to select. So for us, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and modify it and say we want to do donations only. All right, we did the church name and address. That's pretty important. What else is important here? Okay, so here we have control, and I've tried to arrange these parameters based on kind of the functionality. So these top ones are kind of global ones, and we get to the things that are specific to entering our donations. Parameters specifically related to the receipts that we do for our donors at the end of the year. The monthly reports, things related to the expenses and the balances, being able to manage and control the options there. So they're all kind of lumped together according to their use, and helps to set up all the things related to donors, to the donations within this section of it. So on the entry tab, if you remember from the demo, is we have a certain number of rows in which we are able to enter that detailed donation information, our donor number, the amount that they gave us, and what particular fund or category they wanted to distribute it to. We have actually by default 20 rows in here. Some churches might need fewer than that. Others might need more on a fairly regular basis. They might want to always have 40 rows perhaps available to them when they first launch it. Now we always let me say from the demo, if you remember, we only can enter items in the yellow cells. All the other cells are protected. Okay, but if I don't have enough yellow cells on any given Sunday, first of all, that's a great problem to have, because that means we got too many donations, or we got more than we typically get, and that's a great problem to have. But if you are running out on any given Sunday, you can always come up here to this menu item and say insert entry rows, and that'll just add more yellow cells here. But you do, on the parameters, have the ability then to define how many rows do you want to see when you first open up. So by default, what are the default number of rows in that entry tab? Again, I said when I send it to you, it'll be set to 20. But if you want more, let's go ahead and just change it to 30. Okay, and then if I run out and I need to insert more, how many more rows will I insert each time you click the menu item to insert entry rows, and it's set to 10 for that. So these are some of the things that you can set. The user guide has a very robust list of, not robust, the entire list of all of the menu, all of the parameters. Let me pull that over here again for you. Okay, so all of the parameters are listed here, starting right here. Each one is listed in the same order that you'll see them on this on the parameters tab. A description of what each one does. Sometimes the description is not enough. We need additional information to help you to understand what we're referring to there. And so down below then you'll see a more detailed description, including screenshots for you to help to understand all of the different parameters and how they work. And in some cases I'll even give you a link to a video that I created, like this one on fiscal years. If you think if your organization needs fiscal years, check out the video where I go through that in depth. So the parameters are listed and described in the user guide as well. Okay, let's go through some of the ones though that are important for us. And receipts. Okay, so yeah, some organizations, some churches have a minimum. Let's say if the donation is less than $10, don't bother making a receipt. Or maybe it's less than 100, maybe it's less than 200, but you are in control of that. Okay. Things like when we print the receipt at the end of the year, do we want it to, the orientation, the paper, to be portrait or landscape? So we give you control over that. On the receipt, looks kind of like this, where this is our information and our church name, your donor information down here. We also have a footer to the receipt, and you get to customize the words that show up here in the footer, and you do that on the parameters. This is the receipt footer information. Okay, and then you'll also have 3 rows of header information that you can put there in addition to the church name and address. Down here is the stuff for your email. If you're going to email your receipts, you get to put your own subject line and the verbiage that you want to go in the body of the email message, and we will attach the receipt as a PDF file to the email message. If you are going to do emailing, then you must set everything up and you must test it. We need to validate that it actually works before we can try to use it. And so when you're testing your email, we need to send it to somebody. So there's a spot where you can put in an email address then for your testing. Okay. Hey, fun fact. When you're doing email addresses, sometimes you want to send it to more than one person. Okay? And so if you want to send it to more than one person, then you put in a semicolon and the next email address. Typo there. But yeah, so you can just you can actually when you're doing your email addresses, you can put in you can send it to 2 or 3 or 4 people at the same time. So just kind of a fun little fact that I just wanted to make sure you're aware of. Okay, what else is really important on the initial setup here? Reports. Okay, so our report looks like this, a monthly report where we can see the amounts given January, February, March, April, etc. And then this is the footer to that. Okay, so you can customize the footer for that. The orientation. Okay, all the expenses. Okay, so one of the things, again, please check out the user guide for all of the details information that you need to find out in here. But one of the things that is really important when you're first setting this up would be the donation categories, right? So every time someone is donating money for us, we have these different categories, or some people call them funds, that we want to use then for people to allow them to donate to the different options available. That's a category or a fund, okay? And you get to name the categories however you want to. So a common one would be offering, or sometimes people call it general fund, or general expenses type of a thing. Okay, so that's a fairly common one. A lot of churches will allow people to donate to their missions. If I could only type, huh? Okay. Sometimes people will have a building fund, or they'll have a category specifically for donations to provide things for the youth, or other similar things. Another one we often see would be a charity, or maybe you might call this benevolence. So just fill in the names of the different categories that you are using at your church, and you have room for up to 20. And then tell me how many you're using. And this will be part of the thing that the software will do. We'll customize it. Basically, it's gonna hide the unused ones and then just display the ones that you're using. So you need to tell me that. While we're on this subject, let me explain that within the list of the different parameters, you'll see that some of them, like this one, is color coded. That's very important for you to understand that later on, if you come back and adjust any of these things that are in this pinkish color, you'll need to run this adjust tabs from parameters again, because you've just changed something that requires my software then to go and touch every one of the tabs and alter them based on this modification to that particular parameter. Okay, we'll just stop there at those ones, and we'll come down to the next one. If you are using the expenses, which means you'll also then be tracking your balances, I need you to fill in some information here about the names of your different bank accounts, savings account, credit card accounts. Could be Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, that kind of a thing. But anything where you want to track the balance of that. So you'll enter those here. There is a generic checking account. You can modify that if you want a different word there, and then tell me how many of these you're using. We can track up to 10 different accounts. The other thing that is very important when you're setting it up, if you're not in the US, where we use the US dollars, and I know there are some other countries that use US dollars as well, but if you're in one of the other countries, then you'll want to set up, you'll want to change this for your particular currency. And I do have some examples here just so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So the idea is just simply you're defining the names of your different coins or paper bills and the value. So here's an example for Canada. They don't have the pennies, but they do have nickels, dimes, quarters, loonies, and toonies. And so for each one of the coins, this is the valuation. So 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents, loonies are $1, toonies are $2, and then they're paper bills. Okay, so you just define the names of your coins and paper bills, the value, and then tell me how many. And here's an example for Brazil, Mexico, Dominican Republic. So you can just see the, basically how we would fill that in. Again, the names, the valuation, and the number of coins and bills that you're displaying. Okay, so that'll give you an idea of what that would look like. Okay, so once we've done those things, then we run the menu option here, adjust the tabs from parameters. So just simply go up there and click on it, and it will go through and make all of the adjustments to all the different tabs. And so now you see we have 3 donation categories: general missions, charity, and do not put specials in your in your donation categories. Oops, sorry, went up too far. In the donation categories, do not put specials in here. I give you the specials. So a lot of churches, like in this case, we always donate to general missions or charity, and then occasionally could be once a month, but occasionally we'll have other offerings for very special purposes, those special offerings. So I always give you the ability to donate to and track the specials, and then you would put the amount to donate to that special there, and then the name of the special in this last column. But don't make that part of your donation categories, because I'm always giving that to you in addition to your standard ones. Okay, let's see. At that point, I think we are you are ready to just simply I probably would say save the Excel file, and then you can close down Excel and wait for your first donation so you can enter that and record it. I do have another video I created that shows you how you can add your if you have it, add your to your reports, to your receipts, where you can add your church logo to that. So again, another video that you can watch to show you how to do that. Yeah, and depending on the names that you choose here for your donation categories, you might have to unprotect this tab and make one of these columns wider. Okay, again, depending on the length of the name of the category. So you might have to unprotect it and then make that change. When you're done making your change, you would protect it again. Please never ever put a password in here. Just leave the password blank, and then we protect the sheet again, and then you save the small change that you made there, and then you're ready to shut down the Excel and wait for your first donation, where you'll come back to this Excel file, open it, enable macros, and enter your donations. Okay, yeah, those are the things that I wanted to cover in this video, and I will continue to make more videos, and we'll look forward to working with you in the next video. Thank you.